Hey guys, this is John from US Dash Camera. Today you got a review on the new Vantrue Dashcam X4. So in the past I have reviewed a Vantrue camera. It was the N2 Pro, which was an Uber style dash camera. But this one is just a single channel camera, so it's got the front camera and then it's got a 3-inch screen on the back. Now while I did purchase the N2 Pro with my own money, Vantrue did reach out to me to send this one for review, so just for full disclosure. Now what's special about this dash camera is it is actually a 4K dash camera, and a lot of you might think, you know, there's already a lot of 4K dash cameras, so why is this special? Well, the big thing is most dash cameras out there that claim they're 4K aren't true 4K. They use image sensors that aren't 8 megapixels, and some of them trick people into thinking they're 4K because they're 4 megapixel sensors, but to have true native 4K video you need an 8 megapixel sensor. So 4K resolution is 4 times the resolution of 1080p. That's 3840 by 2160. So this camera does that at 30 frames per second. Or it also does 1440p at 60 frames per second, and some lower frame rates such as 1080p 60 frames per second. Now this does actually support up to 256 gigabyte memory cards, and Vantrue themselves do not recommend SanDisk or Transcend memory cards. I've used those in the past, and I used to use Transcend and started to have issues with them. So now I use the Samsung Evo cards, and that is what Vantrue recommends. Samsung does now have a Pro Endurance type card. I'll post a link down in the description that these Endurance cards are made for dash cameras or security cameras, so definitely use one of those. So not a whole lot comes with this camera. We do have the actual camera, of course, and then a suction cup mount. Similar to the previous Vantrue camera I reviewed, it has a pretty interesting mount where it has pins, so when you install or clip it on, it slides on like that, and then the power cord will actually plug into this unit right up there. So what's nice about it is then if you want to disconnect the camera or take it off, you don't have to unplug the cord or anything. That's a pretty cool feature. So does come with the standard 12 volt power cord, of course, and also a data transfer cable and a slew of different manuals and stuff. So Vantrue is usually pretty good about documentation, so definitely read through the manual if you have any questions. So again, we have the 3-inch screen on the back with pretty typical buttons. Now the menu's not super special. It's pretty basic, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it is easy to use, and it does tell you along the side of the screen what these buttons do. Now, in addition to the standard power cord, you can buy this separate dashcam hardwire kit. So this camera does support a parking mode, but unfortunately it is not a buffered parking mode like Blackview, Thinkware, or now Viafo's new parking mode. So you don't actually need this. If you have a constant power supply that the camera's connected to, it'll switch to first you have to turn parking mode on, but after a while it will switch to motion detection mode and start recording when it detects motion. Now, I did test this, of course, and it does record pretty quickly. From my tests, it started recording in less than a second, so that's pretty quick. Considering it's not pre-buffered like more advanced dash cameras, at the very least it's almost instant. So what I like about this hardwire kit though is it does come with quite a bit. I did purchase this part myself because I just wanted to include it in the review, but you can see here this will offer your low voltage protection so it won't kill your battery. That plugs into your camera. And here we got the ground, and then the cord, the wire that's going to connect to a fuse. And here you can see several different fuse options. That's pretty cool that they include all of these. every car I've ever used uses these mini fuses, but it looks like they offer the low profile mini ones also, which is pretty cool. So this is one of the nicest hardwiring kits I've seen, actually, where you just plug that in into the one you need, and then this will go into a fuse in your fuse box. Now you want to make sure not to connect to something like your wiper blades or any safety features like airbags. What I typically connect to is something like interior lighting that is always on, so this will allow you to use parking mode while your car is off. So pretty cool feature, but unfortunate that it doesn't have pre-buffered recording, and I do wish there was a timer, because I don't want the camera recording non-stop. If I park for 4 days without driving my car, it's going to just keep bringing the battery life, or my car battery, down pretty low, and I don't really like that. So I wish they could add a timer function to the parking mode. Now when it comes to the video quality, there's definitely pros and cons to this camera. While it does have the newer 8 megapixel Sony image sensor, 4K cameras have had an issue at night where with the smaller pixels of the image sensor, it's not capturing as much light as a 1080p or even 1440p camera. So this camera doesn't seem to be any different. It does seem to struggle at night with pretty dark image. You can change the exposure level, which is nice to have that option, but by the default setting it was pretty dark. Now the day footage does look pretty great. Now one of the issues I do have with this camera, even during the day, is the fact that it does use H.264 encoding, and that's basically been the standard for quite a while with other dash cameras. But with this 4K image quality or 4K resolution, the video files are going to be very, very large. They're over 40 megabits per second. Now in comparison, a lot of dash cameras have anywhere from 15 to 20 megabits per second. Some, like the A119 V3, I believe, have 25 or even 30. But for a 4K video with 40 megabits per second, it does seem to give the video a little bit less detail than I was hoping for. Now some cameras, like the Blackview DR900 series, is also true 4K but uses H.265 encoding, and with that they're able to keep the bit rate below 20 megabits per second without really losing video quality because it has superior compression. So again, that is sort of an issue with this camera. While the video quality does still look great, if you compare it to some other cameras like the Viafo A119 V3, the V3 A119 actually had sharper looking grass as I was driving by. Now when things aren't moving so fast, it does seem like the Vantrue's 4K does have a slight edge, but some people might not actually think that's worth it, because you're going to be wanting to capture license plates or footage while you're driving or moving, not necessarily standing still or parked. Now at night, as I said before, this camera does suffer from darker image, and you can see side by side with the Viafo A119 V3, you can see a lot more with the A119, and while it's the A119's lower resolution, it doesn't seem to really make a difference at night, because both of them, as soon as cars are moving, it's basically impossible to read their license plates if they're moving too fast relative to you. So with the pros and cons on the video quality, I am glad that Vantrue is not lying or tricking people with fake 4K. I appreciate that they only put 4K into a dash camera once they could put a genuine 8 megapixel image sensor in here. So, I have to give them props for that. But again, there's some cameras like the A119 V3 where people might see that and see it's cheaper and think there's more pros to that camera when it comes to video quality than having the 4K in this. So, like I said, these video samples have not been native resolution when I upload them to YouTube, and the raw footage does look better, but it is something to take into account. Now, overall, I do like this camera, But one thing about it is the price tag is it's $200. So some people, might think that the 4K is worth it, but with the high bit rate and the darker image sensor, it's really up for debate if this is worth it over some cheaper cameras that have as good or in some cases better video quality without as high of a resolution. Now it is worth pointing out this does not have Wi-Fi at all. It does have GPS built into here, so that's nice that at least it includes that for that price. But other than that, it's a pretty basic camera. This camera might appeal to some people, but one thing I will say is the suction cup mount is definitely going to be something that someone really wants. A lot of people prefer the wedge style dash cameras such as Thinkware or Viafo, and if you want to move between cars, this is definitely a great option because you just stick it on your windshield, take it down when you need it, throw it up in another car, and that's pretty convenient. But for people that just want to put it in one car and leave it there, maybe this isn't the greatest option out there. So you definitely got to weigh the pros and cons. But again, Vantrue does make pretty good quality products, so if this form factor and the video quality appeals to you, then definitely check it out. I will post down in the description a link to where you can purchase this on Amazon, and I will also include those links to the Samsung memory cards that I recommend. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If it was, I'd appreciate it if you hit like and subscribe. And as usual, drive safe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.